What's up, gang? I'm going to talk you through some very approachable ways to foam roll with your body. You might have one of these things at home or in your space and you're like, I don't know what to do with that. Or maybe you're feeling a little bit tense and you're not really sure how to approach relieving some of that tension with your foam roller. Some background about what foam rolling does for us. It's a great tool to use in your warm-up and or your cool down. I really like foam rolling before and after a workout. I think it gets my muscles and the fascia, that's the envelope that is holding over our muscles, right? I think it gets some really nice fluid into that fascia that prepares our muscles and our body to move before we get into our warm-up, before we get into our workout. And so by foam rolling before the workout, we're kind of telling the body and the muscles, all right, we're about to get ready to do something. We're going to be super safe with this. We're going to produce a little bit of warmth through those muscles. We're going to create some elasticity with those muscles before we put them under pressure and under some stress while we get that workout in. I also really enjoy foam rolling at the end of my workout, just because it feels good, right? You've just spent a long time really asking a lot of that body, asking it to push and pull and lift and jump and run, and just giving it a little bit of love at the end there, again, using it as a cool down mechanism to bring some, again, good fluids back into those muscles, flush out anything that may have been built up while you were getting your workout in, and then just letting that roll into your meditation or whatever you're wrapping up your cool down with at the end of each one of your workouts. Today, I'm gonna start with my glutes and my hamstrings and my calves, so basically that whole back side, the posterior chain of my body. I'm gonna start. In general, we like to, the easiest approach to foam rolling is going to be to go in the direction that the muscles are lying. So for a lot of our muscles, it's gonna be that up and down pattern, right? So I'm sitting on top of my foam roller here. I'm gonna take my left leg, I'm gonna cross that over my right knee, ankle going right over my right knee here. I'm gonna take my left hand down to the floor so that I can sit into that hip a little bit that I've just opened up by crossing my leg here. And I like to go a little bit side to side while I'm here and forward and back until you find that point where there's a little bit of pressure and you want to just take a nice deep breath into that. Big inhale. As you exhale, sinking a little bit lower into that foam roller, creating a little bit more pressure on that tight spot there. And then we're just gonna gently move away from it, find that next tight area. There it is for me in my hip. I'm gonna take a nice deep breath here. Exhale, as I exhale, sink a little bit deeper into that hip. And you can continue to do that in all kinds of different little areas in your glute if those are feeling tight for you. Sometimes you want to go right glute, left glute. Sometimes I would like to foam roll my whole left side and then I'll move to my right side. So I'm going to go ahead and take it down to my hamstrings. For the hamstrings, sometimes when we're starting to feel some tightness in that low back, it's because the hamstrings could be tight and pulling down on that low back a little bit. So leaving some of that tension in the backs of the legs can help bring a little bit of relief. Or if you're just getting ready for some movement prep, bringing some good fluids into that area before you start lifting your weights. So I'm gonna start, I've got my hands on the floor here to give me a little bit of support. I've got my right leg on the floor, or crossing it over my left knee. Depending on what level of intensity you want against your foam roller, you can take that for yourself. Right now, I'm just above the knee joint. I'm gonna avoid the joint and just get into those muscles and that fascia and the covering of my muscles here. And so I'm right over that muscle. And again, I'm going forward and back in tiny gentle movements right there where that muscle is going into the joint. And then I'm also gonna get just a tiny touch side to side to get into those edges that might be feeling a little bit creaky. After spending probably 60 seconds here or so, I'm gonna take it into the belly of the muscle a little bit. That's gonna be that mid part of the muscle. And you're gonna come up off the floor a little bit here. I'm pressing into my right foot and I'm pressing up into my hands to get off of the floor here. And I'm just gonna gently going in the direction that my muscles are lying, forward and back, or up and down, if you will, going through those muscle fibers here. Once I'm feeling pretty good there, I might go a little bit medial, laterally, moving to that outside edge of the leg, getting a little closer to that side of the leg, still staying on the back side. Just like we were doing with the glute, if you wanted to find a spot there that feels a little bit like it needs a little more love, I just like to stay there, and you could go side to side, up to down. Again, maybe spending 60 seconds or so on that lateral side of the leg. And I'm gonna internally rotate that leg a little bit to get into those adductors. We can get into another way of the adductors here, but if I'm already here, I'm just gonna give that medial, that inside part of the leg, a little bit of loving as I come up and down the belly of those hamstrings. Awesome. Once I've gotten a little bit of relief there, I'm gonna bring it all the way down to my calves. This one I really like to get down close to the ankle and up underneath my knee here. So we'll start at the bottom. We're just, again, gonna rock forward and back nice and gentle. I like using my opposite foot here to add a little bit of extra pressure. You can keep your butt on the floor, no need to lift up out of this here. Just some gentle forward and back, maybe some side to side if that feels good and safe for you. Just like in anything we do in fitness, there will likely be some minimal discomfort, but never pressing through pain. If something is painful, like a sharp shooting pain, definitely stop and then make an adjustment or check in with somebody about what that pain is, what could possibly be the cause of that pain. After I've gone to the bottom edge of that muscle there, I'm gonna bring it right underneath. Again, I'm avoiding the joint. I'm going right underneath my knee joint here. Maybe you can rock side to side. You can also rock forward and back here by bending that knee, pulling the foam roller towards you, pushing that foam roller away. Just like we did with that hamstring, you can open up that leg a little bit, getting into the lateral, the outside edge of that calf. Easy breezy there. And then I'm gonna roll, get a little bit of internal rotation here. The inside part of that leg is a little tender for me, so I don't feel necessary to put that other leg on top for added pressure. But if you're looking for a little more intensity in that foam roller, you absolutely can tap that leg on top, that free leg on top, to give that a little bit of extra intensity there. Awesome. So we've just gone through the glute, the hamstring, and the calf. I did it all on my left leg. You can go ahead and switch to the right leg after that. Another option would have been to do left glute, left hammy, left calf, right calf. There's no right or wrong way to do it. I want you to feel empowered to take whatever approach to the order of operations that you're foam rolling that lower leg with. Cool? We're gonna go over foam rolling the quads here. This can, for some of us, feel like a bit more of a challenging position to get into, but once you understand how to get into it, it's super duper simple, and you're gonna have some really great results from foam rolling those quads. And we'll also get into that IT band here. Sometimes if we're feeling some tension in those hips, I mentioned this about the glutes or the hamstrings pulling down on that low back, which sometimes can cause that low back tension. Sometimes if we're feeling some tightness in our hips, that could be as a result of tightness in our quadriceps or through that IT band here. So we're gonna get into that position, and we're gonna hopefully alleviate some of that tension through your hips. So I'm gonna come with my foam roller perpendicular to my body, right underneath my, right at the edge, of my knees. And I'm going to come onto my forearms while I'm here. If we come into our hands here, this sometimes puts us in this extended position, which does not feel great on your back, right? I want to avoid any additional pain. And we're gonna start, I'm gonna do one leg at a time. So my left leg here is slightly bent so that it's off the foam roller, and I'm actually able to put a little extra pressure on that right leg. And I'm just gonna hang out at the top of these quadriceps for a second, riding in the front or forward and back direction that the muscle is lying on the leg. That insertion point up at the top of the leg. Good, maybe I move to the outside edge, that lateral edge a little bit. You could come into a forearm position here rolling onto the side. I've got my left leg here, foot on the floor for a little bit of leverage. I'm trying to avoid rolling over any bones or any joints, and I'm just gonna stick in that direction, especially with this IT band. I wanna stick in the direction that it's lying here. She's pretty tender, and so we're just gonna get a little bit of gentle love going forward and back on the side of that leg. Once you've spent 30, 60 seconds maybe on that, outside of your leg, we're gonna bring it back to the front. I'm gonna bring my foam roller just a little bit out to the side. My left leg is gonna come all the way out to the foam roller here, and I'm gonna go just to the right leg so that I can get a little bit to that lateral and medial, we're not my friends today, that medial, that inside edge of that leg a little bit. So these quadriceps, they go through that front side of the leg and kind of wrap around that whole thigh. So I was just hanging out, my IT band here is what I was on a moment ago on that side. We're in that rep fem, running through that front of the leg. Then I'm gonna just get into that inner thigh a little bit. We'll get into those adductors a little bit more as well that I mentioned earlier in the hamstring section. So I'm here just getting a little bit along the edge of that leg there, pushing through the forearms, pulling back through. Again, trying to avoid being in this straight arm position. So you'll see my hips dipping down there, creaking on my low back there. I want to avoid that. We'll spend 60 or so seconds there, and we'll gently come on out of that. To get into that inner thigh, that adductor is one of my very favorite ways to foam roll. We are going to put the foam roller going in the same direction as my body here. I'm coming down onto my forearms again. My left leg is going to stay planted on the floor while my right leg comes up to cuddle my foam roller at 90 degrees here. And we're just gonna roll in and out of this adductor position here. Those muscles on that inner thigh, just getting a little bit of love in. I like to spend a little extra time right there next to my knee. Maybe if you want a little extra movement, a little extra pressure on the foam roller, you could bend and straighten that leg while you're here. Not necessary, but something to try if you're looking to increase that foam rolling a little bit. Once I've spent a little time up by that knee, I'm gonna get a little closer, a little more fresh with that foam roller as we get into the, again, belly of that muscle there. And then I might even come a little bit closer to get a little bit closer into that groin area. Just gentle, small rocks forward and back, going along the direction of that muscle here. Another one you could do is to lift that foot towards the ceiling, getting in some internal rotation, and then taking it out. Continuing to breathe the whole time. Make sure you're continuing to breathe as you foam roll through this. Beautiful. And you can switch into that second leg. All right, gang, we're gonna talk about foam rolling that upper back and our lats. If you're starting to feel some tension around that upper back and these lats here, we're gonna take our foam roller to the floor. I'm gonna sit my foam roller right behind me. I'm gonna sit up super tall here, and you can keep your feet planted on the floor. And I'm gonna just gently sit back. I'm just gonna gently sit back here. I'm gonna be about midway up my back. I'm not starting right at that bottom part of the spine, that lumbar spine. We can talk about foam rolling into that low back area in just a little bit. But before that, we'll talk starting with that foam roller right at that mid back. Some people like to put their hands behind their head. I like to give myself a nice big hug. What that does is separate the shoulder blades and gives me some space in between the shoulder blades to really get into that upper back, all those muscles in between the shoulder blades that can feel a little bit tight. So I'm giving myself a nice tight squeeze here, and I'm gonna lift my butt off the floor, and I'm gonna pull my butt towards my heels here. Gentle, gentle, coming right up and down that back, rolling right down to that mid back again. And then I'm gonna pull my butt towards my heels here as I gently roll up, coming just up to my shoulders. No need to go any higher than those shoulders here. Pushing in and out of this area. This is gonna open up those, all your mid-lats, a little bit of your traps, but we'll get specifically into the traps a little bit, or excuse me, your lats. We'll get into your lats a little bit more after this. Moving into your mid-trap here, your rhomboids. Nice and gentle movement. Again, getting some good fluids to that area. Maybe this is part of your warm-up, maybe it's part of your cool down. Both are going to be a really great place. Maybe you're watching TV and you just need a little extra something to do here. Now that's foam rolling the upper back. We're gonna foam roll those lats here. I'm gonna start in a similar, well, I'm gonna start on my hip. I'm gonna start sitting on my side here. And I've got my foam roller right at the top of my rib cage here, like midway up, right underneath where my sports bra line is. And I'm going to reach my arm out here, and I'm gonna push and pull in that position right here. This is going to be a pretty low threshold. It's not a ton of tension on my foam roller here. You can go forward and back. If you wanted to take this up a little bit more intense, you could go hands behind the head here and rock forward and back and forward and back, really getting into that armpit area, getting into those lats down here. That can be very tense and very tender for a lot of us, so be very, very gentle with yourself as you move in and out of that lat foam rolling right here. We're just gonna gently come forward and back, forward and back out of that lat area there. Once you've spent a little bit of time on one side, please feel free to put it on the other side of that lat. Give a little bit of love to the right and the left. There are no hard and fast rules. Maybe just your left lat needs a little bit of love today. You just want to give your left lat a little bit of love. Left lat a little bit of love. Say that 5 times fast. Or, excuse me, your right lat needed a little bit of love. Another one that I really enjoy while we're down here is getting into my traps just a little bit. So I'm gonna be here, my traps and my neck, right? And it's just like I've got a sweet little neck pillow on my airplane, but this one's just gonna give me a little bit more to work with. This is one of my very, very favorite places if I'm waiting for a class to start, if I'm waiting for a client, and I've got a foam roller nearby. Just this gentle rock side to side relieves a lot of tension at the base of my skull, where that neck and that skull meet each other, and in the top sides of my shoulders here. So feel free, if that foam roller is ever just lying around, just give it a little gentle rock side to side. I could put myself to sleep right now doing this, but I won't, because we have more to talk about. When we talk about foam rolling the low back and the hips, sometimes we misinterpret where the tension is coming from in our bodies, and I want to give you the opportunity to foam roll that low back in a safe way. In general, we want to avoid getting really intense foam rolling along that lumbar spine, that's that low back here, but there are some ways to come into that kind of hip area that is going to feel safe and very, very good in your body here. So I'm going to start with the foam roller kind of lying perpendicular to my body here, and I'm going to find the bottom side of my rib cage and the top side of my hips, and I'm going to let that foam roller lay right in between there. Maybe you start with your hand on the floor, and I'm going to lean back ever so slightly right here, and I'm going to take a nice deep breath. Exhale, sink further into that foam roller. Maybe you've come down to the forearm here, taking a nice deep breath, filling up, getting lots of intra-abdominal pressure as you inhale and press into that foam roller deeper. As you exhale, maybe rolling back a little bit more, getting a little bit deeper into those deep back muscles here. Beautiful, and gently come on up out of that. And that feels like a very safe, approachable way to get into what might feel like some tension in that lower back.